maybe we'll do a little bit of focus on hips, a little bit more focus on hips, work our way to standing pigeon, and maybe hand balance pigeon in a hand balance, and then once you're in the hand balancing pigeon, you can extend one leg, and they call that flying pigeon. A challenging pose. No worries if you can't do it. It's quite an advanced pose. Not many people are there yet, but it's good to work our way towards it. So just go as far as you can, keeping within your comfort zones. We'll start off a little bit of breathing and a little bit of core work. So come onto your back. Walk the feet in, feet on the ground, knees are bent, legs are sort of hip distance apart. And just place one hand on your belly. Typically I'll place my left hand on my belly, right hand on my belly. And the left hand somewhere on the chest, maybe on the heart. Bring your attention to the breath and start taking longer, deeper breaths, inhaling and exhaling through the nose. Just keep your focus and attention on the breath. And while you're doing that, I'm just going to turn my heat down because the noise of the fan interferes with the recording. So it's nice having one hand on the belly, one on the chest, because as you breathe, you can feel movement. As you inhale, you can feel the belly rise and then the chest expand. And as you exhale, you can feel the chest contract and the belly sink. And I always think it brings more of a connection between the breath and the physical body. It makes you more aware of the breathing. Bring both hands onto the belly and just pull the knees in and then just touch the ground with the toes, keeping the knees nicely bent, and just repeat that a few times, breathing, not holding the breath, keeping the back pretty low. And with the hands on the belly, you can feel those muscles working, especially as the feet get low to the ground. This is a nice easy way to start strengthening the core. The back is protected because the knees are bent. So if you have any back issues, this is a good one to do. Now straighten one leg, keep that leg low, and then we switch. And this time, if your fingers are hands on the belly, you can feel that those muscles are engaged all the time this time. So we're working a little bit harder. Again, we're trying to keep the back nice and low. And if as we progress, if anything starts to bother the lower back, just revert to pulling the knees in with the knees bent. We can add the arms as one knee comes in. We work with the arms as well, synchronizing the movement of the arms and the legs. We do this kind of thing fairly often. I think it's a great way to strengthen the core. And maybe you're touching the ground over the head with the fingers, maybe not. If it's not good for the shoulders, or if you find the back is coming up too high off the ground, don't take the arms down quite so low. Another 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we bring both feet down to the ground. Take the feet a little bit wider than hips. Windshield wipers, taking the knees over from side to side. Working the obliques a little bit. This is mainly just a warm-up for the spine. And we're moving with the breath. Inhale as the knees come up, exhale as they go down. Now bring both legs up to the ceiling. These are also like windshield wipers, but this time we keep that 90 degrees between the legs and the torso, the belly. Arms out a little bit wider, and we take the legs over to one side, about halfway down, back up and over to the other side. And the arms are useful so you can go down nice and slow, and to help you bring those legs back up. Again, we're using the breath. We're not holding the breath. If you find you're holding the breath at all, you're probably trying a little bit too hard. If you're breathing really fast, you're probably trying a little bit too hard. So we're trying to breathe regular rate, not too fast. Breathing in and out through the nose typically. 2 or 3 more each side. And then we bring the legs back up and we bring the feet down to the ground. Take hold of the back of one leg and just point and flex the toes, just warming the foot up a little bit, stretching out the back of the leg, the back of the ankle, Achilles tendon. Pointing and flexing a few times. And then we're just going to circle the foot, rotating the foot in one direction. And then in the other direction. And then we switch. Other leg comes up, point and flex. Circle, one direction. Other direction. And then we bring both feet down to the ground. So we're going to go up and down into bridge and use the breath. Just come up on an inhale, and just before you come up, push into the ground with the lower back. Come down on the exhale. And just briefly relax, so we're getting a little gap underneath the lower back as we've come down. And then repeat, pushing into the ground, lifting the hips up on the inhale, down on the exhale. Just repeat a few times. And this is going to strengthen the legs, the glutes, and the back, and it's going to give a little bit more mobility to the spine. And then the next time you're in bridge, hold bridge. You don't have to take the hips up too high. Interlace the hands and then start walking the shoulders in nice and close, the arms in closer. Push the arms, the hands into the ground. Keep the gaze towards the ceiling at all times. Feel the opening of the chest around the collarbone. Legs are parallel. And then try pulling the feet towards you. Not moving the feet, but you're trying to pull them in a little bit closer. And you're breathing. And then we slowly come down, releasing the arms as we come down. Bringing down the upper back, mid back, lower back. Pull the knees in nice and close, and a little bit of rocking. Feet down, out of the left ankle and the right leg. Recline pigeon, pulling the legs in. Activate the foot close to you, pushing the heel out, pulling the toes in. A lot of arm strength as you pull the legs towards you. You're trying to get the tailbone down, so try not to lift the tailbone up too high if you can avoid it. We add a little bit of rocking side to side, massaging the back. Nice stretch on the outside of the hip on this one. Just rocking from side to side a few times. And then we switch legs out of the right leg, right foot onto the left leg. Pull those legs in. Activate the foot close to you. Try and get the tailbone closer to the ground. A lot of arm strength. Feel that stretch on the outside of the hip. And then we rock. I like to rock. Been doing that more and more often. It sort of massages the back a little bit. Try to loosen those back muscles, those lower back muscles. And then we pull both knees in, we hold onto the back of the legs, we rock up into boat, engaging the core. Again, any back issues, we keep hold of the legs. If your back is good, arms either side, parallel. Arms either side of the legs. The more you raise the legs, the higher the legs, the more you're going to have to work in this one. You're breathing, trying to keep the back as neutral as you can get. We lower the legs almost to the ground. You support the head with the hands. You push the lower back into the ground like crazy. Abs of steel. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a full body stretch. Reaching with the arms, reaching with the legs. Get as much length as you possibly can. Walk the feet in. Take hold of the back of the legs again. Rock yourselves up and come onto your hands and knees. Cat-cow a few times. Inhale, belly down, head up. Exhale, rounding the back, tucking the chin. Inhaling into cow, exhaling into cat. And just repeat this a few times. Next time you're in cat, hold cat. Make sure the wrists are directly underneath the shoulders. Head is relaxed, you're looking between the knees. And see how much you can round the back, keeping the back nice and happy. Pulling the belly in. Breathe. Come into cow. Belly down, head up. Now this time we're going to glue the hands to the mat. And we're trying to pull the hands towards the knees towards the hands. And that's going to engage those core muscles again. We loosen up, come into neutral. Walk the hands slightly forward so the wrists are slightly forward of the shoulders. Downward facing dog. Bring the feet close. Start walking the dog, bending one knee as you straighten the opposite leg. Take your time. Stretching out those calf muscles. Hold one leg straight, one knee bent. Now what I find when I'm doing this pose, I can then focus on getting more length from the hands through to the hips. So I'm pushing the hands into the ground a lot. I'm pulling the armpits towards the ground. I'm tucking the chin a little bit. And I'm feeling that length. You're breathing. Getting the head a little bit lower to the ground, really pulling those armpits down. Really feel that opening of the upper body, the upper front body. Other leg straight, other knee bent. And then we're going to lift up the right leg, extended down dog, inhaling. And on the exhale, you're going to keep that leg off the ground as you bring that right knee towards the right elbow. Inhale, extend. Exhale, you bring the knee towards the left elbow. Inhale, extend. Exhale, knee towards the chin. Inhale, extend. We switch legs. Inhaling as the other leg comes up, reaching up. Exhale, knee to left elbow. Inhale, extend. Knee to right elbow. Inhale, extend. Exhale, knee towards the chin. Inhale, extend. Top foot joins the bottom foot. We come into child's pose. and just relax for a few breaths. Keep the toes together, knees apart. Bring the elbows to the ground, palms together, and push the elbows into the ground, getting a little bit of a shoulder opener. Trying to touch the ground with the forehead. We then come onto our palms, walk the knees forward, so the fingers are almost touching the front of the mat, palms are together, elbows under the shoulders. Come into a forearm plank. Hips are not too high, hips are not too low. You breathe in, and then we walk the knees underneath the hips again. We tuck the toes, and we come into dolphin, keeping the back neutral, bending the knees to keep the back neutral if you need to. Here we're trying to straighten that line out, elbows, shoulders to the hips. So not only are you pushing into the ground to get the head off the ground, you're pushing the mat away from you, pulling the shoulders away from the hands, getting a nice shoulder opener. Knees down, hands under the shoulders again. We come into downward facing dog. We look forward, walk forward between the hands. Inhale halfway up. Exhale, folding forward. Bend the knees into chair, and then we come all the way up. Okay. Nice little stretching there before we get into that sun salutation flow. The vinyasa. We come to the front of the mat. Inhale as you bring those arms up, looking up towards the ceiling. Exhale, folding forward and down. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, we plant the hands. We walk into plank. Knees down, elbows in, chin chest forward and down. Inhaling into cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale the right leg up. Exhale, we sweep that foot through. We're in warrior one pose. You can take a bit of a back bend, take a breath or two. We flow to the other side. We come back into plank. Chaturanga on knees, chin, chest to ground. Cobra or up dog. Back into downward facing dog. Inhale the left leg up. Exhale, we sweep that foot through. We'll warrior one other side. Taking a breath or two. We come into plank. Chaturanga on knees, chin, chest to ground. Cobra or up dog. Downward facing dog. Hold down dog, 3 or 4 breaths. We look forward, we jump or walk forward between the hands. Inhaling halfway up. Exhale, folding forward, knees bent. We're back in chair, and then all the way up. Inhale, chair. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, we plant the hands. We're in plank. Chaturanga. Inhaling to up dog, opening the chest, looking up. Exhale, down dog. Inhale the right leg up. Exhale, we sweep that foot through. Warrior one. Exhale, warrior two. Hold warrior two. Look to the side of the room and bring that back arm, which is going to be your left arm, under the right arm. Eagle arms. Opening the shoulders, lifting the arms up towards the ceiling. And you're still focusing on that front leg. Try not to let the knee come in to midline. Keep it directly over that front foot. regular warrior 2, reverse warrior, and then we flow to the other side. Plank, engage the core, chaturanga, up dog, looking up, downward facing dog. Inhale the left leg up. Exhale, we sweep that foot through. Inhaling into warrior 1, exhaling into warrior 2. And we hold warrior 2. So the feet in warrior 2, I like to line up the heels. Soften the shoulders, look towards the side of the room. Bring that back arm, your right arm under the left arm. Eagle arms. And maybe lift those arms up. And breathe. Regular warrior 2, reverse warrior, and then we come into plank, and we're going to hold plank, regular plank, if you can. If it bothers the wrists, you can do a forearm plank, pushing into the ground with the hands a lot, trying to lift up between the shoulder blades, keeping the back neutral. Knees come down if this starts to be too much. You bring the right hand to center, side plank, stacking the feet, stacking the arms. Bottom foot can be down in front of you, your top foot can be down in front of you, or you can bring the bottom knee down if you need to. What I find here is the more you push into the ground with that lower hand, the more you reach up. It makes you a little bit lighter, maybe. Side plank other side. Breathe. We come into plank. We start bringing the whole body forward, rocking on the toes, elbows in, chaturanga, up dog, opening up, looking up, downward facing dog. Take 2 or 3 breaths. And then we look forward, we jump or walk forward. Inhale halfway up. Exhale folding forward. Knees bent. And we slowly come back up into chair and then into mountain. So we're going to hold a forward bend. And what I'd like you to do is bend the knees. We might have done this last week. So that the belly is resting on the legs. The head is totally relaxed. Then relax the head, you can say yes or no with the head. And then we're going to just bring the arms, forearms off the ground. So you're resting one hand in the opposite elbow, each hand in the opposite elbow. So the arms can just dangle. You're keeping contact between the belly and the legs. Head is relaxed. And then we're just going to see if we can straighten the legs a little bit more. And this gives you a nice stretch at the back of the legs. It opens the shoulders. You're breathing. And then we bend the knees. And we roll up. Inhale as the arms come up. Exhale, back into mountain. Come to the front of the mat. Inhale into chair. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale halfway up. Exhale, we plant the hands. We're in plank. Chaturanga. Inhale into up dog. Exhale, down dog. Inhale the right leg up. Exhale, we sweep that foot through. We're in warrior 1. Hold warrior 1. So what we're going to do next, to stay in warrior 1, is add a little bit more of a hamstring stretch. So we're going to bring the hands behind us, opposite, holding onto the opposite elbows. And then we're going to straighten that front leg. and we hinge forward at the hips, trying to bring the torso parallel to the ground. And this is going to give you a bit more of a stretch in the back of that front leg. So the more you fold forward, the more you feel it. Hold it, 2 or 3 more breaths. And then we slowly come back up. We swivel on the heels, keep hold of the opposite elbows behind you. Straighten both legs, and we hinge forward, torso parallel to the ground. You're looking at the ground. And hold here. We come back up, and we swivel. I need to turn through 180, so hopefully you're facing my direction. And we're still holding onto the opposite elbows, but this time we take the legs a little bit wider and keep them parallel. So I'm taking them pretty wide, and I'm hinging forward again, looking up. And then I'm going to interlace the hands behind me, pull the shoulders away from the ears, and gently bring the arms up to the ceiling. At the same time, I'm bringing a little bit more weight under the toes. Looking between the legs, be kind to the shoulders. Maybe just relax the shoulders a little bit, and then see if they'll come up a little bit higher. The arms will come up a bit higher. And then relax, not forcing anything, just moving with the breath, moving with the body. And then we bring the arms down, we bring the hands underneath the shoulders, and you can use a block if you have a block handy. So my hands are underneath the shoulders, my arms and legs are parallel to each other and vertical. And then bring one hand to center and bring the right hand to center, and we open up. So we're trying to get a straight line from that top shoulder through to that bottom hand. Bottom shoulder, you're pulling away from the head, you're trying to tuck that shoulder blade in, you bring the other arm up, and you're trying to keep that top arm lined up with the back, opening up. Breathe. And this time you're going to feel the twist. You're going to feel stretching on the inside of the legs. And then we bring the top hand down. Take your time going into this pose. We want to keep the shoulders happy. So I start bringing the left hand on the ground. I'm pulling the bottom shoulder away from the head, trying to suck in that shoulder blade. I then open the chest. I go slow, so I'm not yanking that top arm up. I'm keeping the top arm lined up with the back. So I'm now moving that top arm with the back, so I'm not yanking, I'm not just moving the arm by itself, I'm moving the arm and the back as one unit. I'm opening up, adding the twist. I'm still pushing the feet into the ground, outer edge of the feet pushed into the ground, and breathe. And then we bring the hands down. And we start walking their feet together, heel toe, heel toe. And we roll up. And we bring the arms up, looking up, and then into mountain. We're going to work our way into regular pigeon. I think we'll do this before we do the flying pigeon, the standing pigeon. Come to the front of the mat. Inhale into chair. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, we plant the hands. We walk into plank. Chaturanga or knees, chin, chest to ground. Cobra or up dog. Downward facing dog. Inhale the right leg up. And on the exhale, we come into pigeon, bringing that top leg forward, knee lined up close to that right hand. Knee more to center if it's too much of a groin stretch. Keeping the body nicely lined up, centered. One hip no higher off the ground than the other hip. Tuck the toes of the back foot and see if you can walk that foot back a little bit, maybe. And then relax the top of the foot on the mat. And then extended pigeon, and we're going to hold this. And you can just relax in this one. The nice thing about extended pigeon is you're not really having to work very much. You have to try and keep the hips equidistant to the ground to keep the back in a nice straight line. But you can just relax, let gravity do the work for you. It's one of those poses that you can, and I think is good to hold for a while. We come up into raised pigeon, and you're going to take hold of the left foot with the left hand. For me, it's the right foot with the right hand. And I like to take the hand inside the foot. And then maybe you can bring the hand on to the top of the foot and pull that foot in towards you, getting more of a quad stretch. And then we're going to take hold of the foot with the other hand. Now this time, again, I'm holding onto the inside of the foot. This time I'm pushing the foot into the hand. So I'm pulling the foot away, opening up and adding a twist. And then we're going to switch sides. We come into down dog. Maybe walk the dog a few times. And then bring up the left leg, extended down dog, and come into pigeon on the other side. Take your time. Respect the knee. Maybe tuck the toes of the back foot, walk that foot back a little bit. That might let you go a little deeper if you want. If you're high off the ground, some people are high off the ground, sometimes people like to slide a little block or cushion under that hip. And then make sure that back foot is in line with the back leg. And usually I'll bring the top of the foot onto the mat. And then extended pigeon. And relax here. As I say, gravity is doing all the work for us here, so you can just sort of enjoy this pose. And then we come up, we take hold of the back foot, holding onto the inside of the foot, pulling that foot in towards you, getting a quad stretch. And then we take hold of the foot with the other hand. This time pushing the foot away from you, opening up the chest, adding a twist. And then we release. Lean over to the side and come into Badakanasana, bringing the soles of the feet together. Rocking. As you rock, you're getting closer to the feet. And then become still. Start to try and pull the hips closer to the feet. Try and bring the hips slightly forward. And then we're trying to encourage the knees closer to the ground, maybe flapping the knees. But it's also called butterfly pose, so we flap the wings of the butterfly. If your knees are high, if your back is rounded, you can't get the back neutral. you guys should know this. You want to sit on a cushion or a block. Make it easy for yourselves, or easier anyway. Eventually the knees are going to come all the way down. So we're getting a good stretch on the inside of the hips here. And we release. We pull the feet in, we come back onto our hands and knees. Downward facing dog. Inhale the right leg up. Exhale, we sweep that foot through. We come into a low lunge. And then we're getting another quad stretch from the back leg. Now this time I'm gluing the front foot and the back knee, and I'm trying to pull them towards each other. That takes the pressure off the lower back. Arms up, gives you a little bit more of a stretch. And then into lizard, more hip opening. Bringing the forearms down to the ground or onto a block. If it's too much, you stay on the hands. Same action on that hip as happy baby, so we're getting that same action, except we're just working on one hip in this pose. Downward facing dog. Inhale the left leg up. Come into a low lunge on the other side. Pulling that front foot towards the back knee. Arms come up. Take a breath or two. And then we come into lizard, forearms towards the ground. And then we come into downward facing dog. And we bring the knees down, lean over to one side, come into a seated position. Let's do one more hip stretch before we do the standing pigeon. So take the left, take your right leg, and you want to try and get the shin parallel to the front of the mat. Then we take the other leg, and we're basically trying to stack the shins. Now if this is too much, you can just do a cross-legged position, or you could do Badakanasana again. If you're okay with this one, we're starting, see I've got a gap between the top leg and the bottom foot. I'm just going to gently try and close that gap. And I'm feeling a stretch in that hip of that top leg. Now just be careful with this one. This is quite a stretch. If you guys, I'm not going to do lotus today, but if you can do this pose, if you can get these legs in contact, your hips are probably open enough to go into lotus. And it's going to be safe enough. Your knees, you're not going to torque your knees. If you like this, you can't get any lower. I wouldn't do, if I was you, I wouldn't do lotus pose. I wouldn't attempt it. We switch. Getting the left shin parallel to the front of the mat. Right foot is on top, right leg is on top. And maybe it's easier on one side than the other side. And then we're just closing the gap, or trying to get it a little closer. As I say, if this is too much, just do Badakanasana, or just do an easy pose with the legs crossed. And when you're doing this, you might feel it more on one hip than the other hip. And we release. We pull both feet in. Onto your hands and knees, downward facing dog, walk the dog. Okay, I think we're warmed up enough, and hopefully we can have a go at standing pigeon. So take a block. What we'll do a standing pigeon each side, and then we'll do a flying pigeon. We come into a standing pose, and you're going to balance on the right foot, bending that right knee, and you bring the other leg on top. And you're flexing this foot, so you're pulling the toes in. And then we're just going to lower the hands. The block is there just to help us keep our balance. So you can start off with the block at its fullest height, half height, and maybe eventually you're going to touch the ground with the fingers. So the more you bend the knee of that standing leg, the more you're going to feel the stretch. We're trying to get the torso closer and closer towards that top leg. Eventually that top leg, when you do flying pigeon, that top leg is going to be a shelf for the upper body. It's like a shelf. We slowly come out of the pose. We shake out, and you're going to do standing pigeon on the other side. So you're on the left foot, bending that left knee, right leg on top, right foot flexed, and we start bringing the hands a little bit closer to the block or the floor. Take your time. If this is too much, if you don't like this pose, you can do the recline pigeon. This is basically what we did on our backs at the beginning of the class, but we're standing, the standing version. And then we bring the fingertips to the ground. You're going to feel more hip opening here. And then we come back up. And we shake out, shake the legs out, shake the arms out, the shoulders a little bit. Okay, ready to fly. On the right foot again, left foot is on top. We're bringing the hands closer to the floor. Now this time, I'm going to put the block to one side. Now if you want to, it's like a hand balance, like crow. So if you can't do this one, you can always do crow. I'm bringing the upper arm into the inside of the foot, and I'm trying to get low, so I'm actually leaning over. I'm trying to get the foot as high up the arm as I possibly can, and pushing that arm into the crux of the foot, and then I push the other arm into the upper part of the shin, just below the knee. I'm grabbing the arm with the toes, I'm looking forward, so this is like crow where we're looking forward and we're bringing our weight forward. I'm wiggling that back foot, leaning forward, so the back foot starts to come off the ground. I'm really grabbing that arm with my toes, and then I'm trying to extend that back leg, flying into flying pigeon, and then I come out. I can't hold it for very long. I haven't done this pose for a while. It's a little bit of a challenge, but it's cool. If you can do that, it's pretty cool, I think. Okay, same side. Side view. We're bending, so you're going to be working on your right leg. Left leg on top. We bring the hands down. You push one arm into the crux of the leg, so this foot is really high, and then the other arm. We look forward. You lean forward, and then you let that back foot float up, and you try to extend that leg, and you're breathing. And if you can hold it just for a second, that would be amazing. Phew. Okay, other side. Take your time. You're on the left foot, probably. Just make sure you're on the other side. You bring your hands down. You can just hang out here. You don't have to go further than this. You could be trying crow, or you could just be watching, thinking, what is that crazy guy doing? So I'm pushing one arm into the crux of the foot, grabbing the arm with the toes. I'm trying to get contact between the ribs and that top leg, so that top leg is like a shelf. I then bring my weight forward as I wiggle that foot back. I find the balance. I'm breathing. I'm really grabbing that arm with the toes, and I'm trying to take that other leg back. Trying to straighten the leg, flying pigeon, and you come out of the pose. I can't hold it too long. But we did the other side, first side twice, so this time we've got the chance of doing it again. Nice stretch on the hip. That's why we did all those hip openers. Getting ready for this pose. It's challenging. Okay. Other side. Pushing one arm into the inside of the foot, other arm into the shin, trying to get contact between that top leg and the ribs. Grab that arm with the toes, wiggle that foot back. See if you can find your balance. If you can find your balance, maybe you can extend that other leg back, breathe, and then you come out of the pose and you say, oh, that's over with, thank goodness. Sit on the heels, close the eyes, get your breath back, sit tall, bring one ear to one shoulder, regular breathing, bringing that heart rate back down. Other ear to the other shoulder. And then back to the other side again. Now this time, let's take the hand to the outside of the head. Just to encourage that ear a little closer to that shoulder. And then switch over to the other side, using the hand just to encourage the ear a little closer in. Head back to center, take both hands. Now instead of tucking the chin, we're going to do a little bit of isometric work on the neck. So I want you to push the head into those hands, and the hands are pushing back. So you can feel those neck muscles working. And then relax, and now bring the chin to the chest. And bring the hands down, and slowly take the head back. Head back to neutral, and then we look over one shoulder. And then we look over the other shoulder. So if you're sitting on the heels, just lean over to one side and come into a seated twist. And you're either hugging the knee or you're bringing the arm outside the leg as a leverage, trying not to hunch the shoulders up, looking over that back shoulder to the back of the room. Take 3 or 4 breaths. We unwind, we switch legs, and we take the twist in the other direction. So what I'll do, if my arm is outside the shoulder, outside the leg, I'll actually start rounding the back so I can get a little bit lower, and then I'll start to straighten up, trying to get as best the posture as I can, and then into the twist. We unwind, come onto your back, pull the knees in and just rock a little bit. Hands on the knees, and then just make circles in one direction with the hands and knees. And then circle in the other direction. And then we take a full body stretch, extending the legs, extending the arms over the head. And then see if you can get a little bit more length on one side. And then try and get a little bit more length on the other side. And then bring the soles of the feet together, Supta Badakanasana. Another version of butterfly pose. And if you're relatively comfortable here, what you could do is just rest the hands on the legs. So just letting the weight of the hands encourage the knees closer to the ground. Eyes closed. Breathing regular. Make sure you've got length in the back of the neck. If you need to, you can lift the head up, tuck the chin, and bring the head back down. Maybe you need a cushion. You want to try and avoid opening the throat too much. And then into Shavasana. Legs extended, arms either side, probably at about 30-40 degrees, palms face up. Totally relaxed, letting the whole body get heavy. Keeping your attention on the breath. If you want, you can stay in Shavasana. If you're ready to come out, walk the feet in and just roll over to one side. Eyes closed, and just take a few breaths, 2 or 3 breaths. And then gently push yourself into a seated position. Inhale as you bring the arms up. Exhale as they come down. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Keep the palms together. Namaste.